What's up, guys? We're back. It's gonna be 1 week later from when I filmed the last video of me doing those test drives and snippets for doing the logging on the Dart 1.4 with the new 1446 Plus Turbo. Now, we ran into a couple things going on with this car, and it wasn't really running quite in tip top yet. We had a misfiring issue that's going on with our spark plugs here. Now, I did read that with the check engine scanner, and it happened multiple times. It would actually break up in the higher RPMs and we'd have to let off the throttle. And even at idle, it was kind of fumbling at idle and it just wasn't really quite acting right. Now, I was able to get it to show that it was misfiring on cylinder number 3. So that's either going to be that one or that one. I'm not positive. But either way, what we're going to do is we're going to check all of our spark plugs. We're going to pull those out. I want to get that taken care of. We might swap around these ignition coils to see if that could be the issue. If it changes to a different cylinder, then we might know that that could potentially be our issue. But it could also be the spark plugs. Now, it's very unlikely because we only have 7,000 miles on these. And I know that it does have NGK plugs in here, which are decent. But I do want to confirm that the gap, the spark plug gap, is set at what we need to be. So we're going to look into that. And then we're also going to mount our bottom intercooler pipe a little bit better down here. This is the one that actually blew off on one of those test runs. And luckily it didn't completely fly off, but we lost one end of it. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we're going to get that one. There's a bracket down there that needs to be bolted in. But we're gonna need to lengthen this hose because we had to cut it from the previous turbo. So I have a new hose here. We're gonna cut this to length and get this set up in here. We're gonna start by getting this hose out of here first. So we'll get the car jacked up, get underneath it, pull this hose off, and then we'll cut this one down here to size. You can see, here's my intercooler pipe right here. This is where it flew off, right where the rubber meets the actual aluminum pipe right here. Now, there's this little bracket right here, and this is supposed to bolt onto this little piece right here, but currently it's not because this part actually hangs down too low. So that's why we need to lengthen that one hose, the red coupler, up at the top. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just getting both of these off of here. And while we're over here, we're just gonna rough this surface up right here where that intercooler pipe goes over with some 60 grit sandpaper. This is just gonna keep it so that way our pipe hopefully has a little bit more material to grip onto, and so it's not so smooth. The way that I cut this hose, we can see on here, here's my old pipe. I know that it needs to be a little bit longer and bigger than what this piece is. Now, this is a 45 degree. This is also a 45 degree. We're gonna cut this right where I put the C-clamp on here. We'll just take a razor blade and go right over the top of it. And then we're also gonna make a cut up here as well, a little bit shorter. I'll probably move this up a little bit since I don't think I need that much room, but we're gonna kind of pretty much replicate this piece, just make it a little bit longer on both sides. And then we'll test fit it, make sure it's good, make some finishing touches, and we should be able to get this to fit. Check this out, you guys. After a couple test runs, we're all tightened up here on top. Everything looks beautiful. And then if we come to the underside, you can see this got moved up a little bit. We took off a little bit of length, or I mean added a little bit of length so we have more room here. And if we push this up to this bolt hole that's supposed to be right here, I don't know if the camera can quite pick it up, but we are right in alignment. So now we can get a bolt in there to secure this pipe up so it's not gonna go anywhere. And we also, there's this little black pad that normally would go in place right in that area. So we're gonna throw this black pad back on here. Now that we have the shield on down there and everything's buttoned up with that bottom intercooler pipe very tight, I'm pretty confident that that's not gonna have any more boost issues, and that'll be able to hold just fine. We're gonna move on to the coil packs here next. I wanna inspect these spark plugs that we have in here, confirm that they're good, see if we need to replace them. This should be pretty easy because it's just 4 bolts right here holding them, and then we have the clips. And like I mentioned, we're gonna switch around these coils so that way we can see if that coil seems to be following the cylinder that has the misfire. So we got all the plugs pulled out here. So cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4. We just took a look at them. They seem to be a little bit dark, but honestly, this is just what normal wear is going to look like. They're not too bad. And I just checked the gapping on them. It looks like it's closer to 0.025. And for whatever reason, the first 2 cylinders seem to be a little bit looser, right around that 0.025. And these ones are probably 2.4, right around that same area, but they're a little bit tighter, I will say. We could replace them. It looks like these are the NGK Iridium DCPR9EIX, which is a little bit of a different part number than what I was actually looking for getting new plugs on this. I think what I'm going to do is just try to re-gap these a little bit tighter here, right around 0.023. Confirm that with my little tester gauge right here that I can read it on, and try to get them a little bit tighter than what they are. Everything is gapped. I'm pretty happy with it. They are definitely a little bit tighter than they were before. Right around, I would say probably the 0.22 to 0.24 range now, which is a little bit tighter and should be better since we're pushing more boost now. If I run into more issues with any of these misfires or anything, we're going to swap the plugs, no questions asked. I don't believe that these are the platinum tipped ones, and I think those are the ones that are a little bit better. They're a little bit more pricey, but I mean, you get what you pay for. Right now, I'm just trying to make this work. We are back. I did order a new set of plugs for the car. I've been driving it a little bit more. I've been having quite a bit of blowout issues in the higher RPMs. I don't really know what else to attribute it to. We're going to start by replacing the spark plugs with a little bit of an upgrade. So these are going to be the Laser Iridium NGKs. The part number here is going to be SIK-R9A7. These are like the higher ends of the actual plugs you can get for these cars. I know the ones that I have on it are not platinum tipped like these ones are. I already went through, I gapped every single one of these using just a spark plug gapping tool and verifying it just with this little coin. You can put the head of the plug on here and read it. Everything is right around 0.023, and if anything a little bit tighter than that. We're gonna get these out here real quick and we're gonna go throw them into the car over there. Now, I just swapped out the spark plugs. I've been driving it a little bit more. I know I haven't been showing any videos showing you all like the misfiring and the issue that I'm having right now with the car breaking up. However, it is, and I'm trying to get this resolved before I kind of show you guys any more driving or anything like that. We have brand new plugs in here, misfiring issues. I'm gonna try to like cross these off one at a time here. Plugs are brand new, so I don't feel like that's the issue. We're gonna move on to these coil packs and we're gonna check these out. I'm gonna try to take a multimeter and check to see if everything is consistent with these. If you're having misfiring issues, which it seems like quite a few people are on these motors, a couple things to check: spark plugs, coil packs, and potentially vacuum leak. We're gonna test these coil packs out, try to see if everything's okay there, and then we may end up doing a vacuum leak down test on this car. We have the multimeter right here next to it. So basically what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be measuring ohms. So when we turn this on, we're gonna switch this over to that 1 ohm looking symbol. And then we also have this set up in here to read ohms. So black is gonna be on your black comm, your ground one, and then this one over here reads your ohms. And we're gonna take our 2 little wires here and we're gonna touch. There's 3 different pins in here. So this is a 3-pin harness, and there's a bunch of other videos online that you can watch for how to test these. We're pretty much gonna try to touch each one of these terminals in here and kind of flip-flop around, touching each one of these, and we're gonna see what our readings are on this, and we're gonna like compare it across the board for what all the other ones are doing. I also do have our stock coil packs right here that I held on to. We're gonna try to compare these, see if there's really any differences. Main thing I'm looking for is if there's inconsistencies or if there's just like one of these that jumps out. So we're getting a reading right now. Touch these ones, getting a reading. I did go all the way across and I compared the numbers for each one, each set. So you have 3 different ones in here. So there's a couple different ways to configure these to try out. All the way across the board, everything did seem to be consistent, which kind of points to the fact that this isn't our issue with whatever is going on with the car. We can throw these back in the car. We know that these are fine, and we're going to be on to doing a boost leak down test on the car. I do hear a slight bleed. We're gonna try spraying a little bit of soapy water on here, see if we can narrow that down a little bit more. After a little bit of further testing here with our vacuum boost leak, it does appear that I believe our diverter valve in here is a little bit leaky. So if we do spray some soapy water on here, it definitely is bubbling up in here, especially on the inners. And we're gonna see what we can do about this. Now, when I ran that boost vacuum leak test on the car, it was leaking out of these cylinders right here. These are the atmospheric cylinders. This is what allows this to vent to the atmosphere. And I did a little bit of looking into it. And if we look down in here, so this is the cylinder plunger right here, and this is what meets, what makes contact with this inside right here, and it's supposed to block that off. Now, with this on here, if we take a look down in here, it does not look to me like the cylinder is pushing all the way out and putting any pressure up against this. And potentially, that is where our vacuum leak is going to be made right there. What I ended up doing is this piston piece actually comes out. So this comes out, and then you have a spring right in here. Now, in order to get this piston to push out a little bit more to make better contact with this face right here, because I believe that's where the vacuum leak was, what I decided, or what I found to do, is if we take both of these out, I ended up finding a perfectly sized washer that we can take, pop it in here, and this is only maybe like 1 millimeter thick. Perfect size, fit that in there. Put this in here, put our spring back in, put our piston back on, and that's just, it seems like that is just the right amount to push this into here and give it just the slightest bit of resistance. So now our piece in here is actually touching on the inside, and this should help resolve our boost leaks from the diverter valve. That should take care of our vacuum leak pretty much as best as we can here. And as for the coil packs, I switched back to the OEM ones just because after running these on here versus the Dart Madness ones that I originally had, the OEM one seems to be running much better on this car with significantly less misfires on it. So that's why I switched back to those. So we're gonna be running those for now on until we get all this tuning actually figured out, but the car is running decently enough now. That's going to be a wrap for this video. I'm not going to be putting anything else out until I actually get all the tuning resolved with Euro Compulsion. Stay tuned and make sure to keep an eye out for the next video.